So welcome everybody. We're here at the AF Symposium, the kickoff meeting in Amsterdam. And I'm here with Ulrich Schotten from Maastricht. He doesn't require any introduction, but Uli, maybe you can say some word about your person and what you've been doing with atrial fibrillation over the last couple of years.
Thank you, Daniel, and thanks for having me. It's a great place here. So this AF meeting is really a fantastic opportunity to bring industry representatives and academic representatives together. My name is Ulrich Schotten. I'm a physiologist, a translational physiologist, and I work on everything that is related to atrial fibrillation. And here within this network, I'm responsible for the work package that deals with the characterization of AF burden. So my job is to actually measure the atrial fibrillation burden in the different patient groups that we have. That is a technological challenge because we deal with a lot of very different patient cohorts and with a lot of different devices. It's also a regulatory challenge because we need to bring together all those data in a comparable format, and that comes with legal challenges, but also with data science challenges. But it will pay off in the end, I believe, because in the end, if we understand better how much atrial fibrillation somebody actually has, we can shape therapies better for the need of an individual patient. And by doing so, we hope to, in the end, improve patient care.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, you as a physiologist have been dealing with atrial fibrillation over the last decades. And if you look at the program here and if you see how many different stakeholders are involved, I mean, do you want to comment on that? Have you experienced that in your prior career? Can you comment on that? What do you think is the main strengths of this whole consortium of different partners?
Right. We had collaborations with industry partners also in former consortia, but the intensity and the scale on which this happens now in this consortium is indeed extraordinary. And that has to do, of course, with the fact that now with new technologies, data are available, in principle available, I must say, that were not available many years back. And that gives us the opportunity to characterize atrial fibrillation in a completely different way. So 10 years, 15 years ago, a patient had either AF or not, or a patient was in atrial fibrillation for a long time, or the patient had a little bit of atrial fibrillation, and that was the kind of classification we worked with. And that has its value, but we clearly feel the need that we have to refine this scheme and we have to improve the level of granularity because we understand more and more that exactly how much and when a patient has atrial fibrillation matters for what happens to this patient and whether this patient will respond to therapy, and also what is biologically going on in the heart. And that is the step we are going to make. That requires the input from many, many different people, and they are actually all on board, and that is the scenario you described, and this is why we are here. So it's a fantastic opportunity.
So we're talking about characterization of atrial fibrillation. So that indicates kind of thing that there is a need for definitions and for frameworks to see like how can we also in the future with the results from this consortium compare atrial fibrillation burden. So what are the main challenges in terms of AF characterization from your perspective? What is it that we need to learn from the whole data set in terms of characterization? What are the main pillars that we need to focus on to really in the future say this is AF and this isn't?
The challenges are to a large part technological challenges. It is of course relatively easy to describe the amount of atrial fibrillation a patient has in devices that are chronically implanted in patients. Some of those devices have a lead or an electrode that is sitting in the heart and that can very well sense when the patient is in atrial fibrillation and when not. But not everybody has a pacemaker. You don't have I don't have a pacemaker. So also in those patients, we need a way to characterize this arrhythmia in a better way. And there are various levels of technological opportunities to do that. There are very small insertable devices underneath the skin, not a pacemaker. This cannot pace, but it can sense. And this can estimate how often the patient and for how long the patient is in atrial fibrillation. We also have wearables, smartphones, watches that can measure all kind of signals so that we can estimate how often and how long a patient is in atrial fibrillation. And one of the big challenges is to get an idea on how well can those devices characterize atrial fibrillation. They all can sense this pretty well, but it comes always with a certain level of blurriness and uncertainty, and that's what we have to know because it may matter for a therapeutic decision potentially taken for a specific patient.
What do you envision for the future where we have all these data together that we are talking about? Do you think that it will be an ECG-based monitoring that you will have for those patients, or will PPG easier applicable? Will this also be something we can take out there, that this easier accessible data can also be used for for characterization of atrial fibrillation?
Yeah, so that depends a little bit on the history of the patient or the individual. The PPG signals, so the pulse wave signals, they have a pretty good performance. You can detect atrial fibrillation based on them pretty well, if you know that the irregularity in the pulse is actually due to atrial fibrillation. And here it comes down to the ECG. There are forms of irregularity of the heartbeat that are explained by other cardiac arrhythmia, and you can more easily learn which kind of arrhythmia that is when you actually record an ECG. So for those patients not known having atrial fibrillation, the ECG will always remain a very important tool. It's actually also the only diagnostic tool, meaning that the diagnosis of atrial fibrillation really depends and will remain depending on an ECG. But once you know that a patient has atrial fibrillation episodes once in a while, it is perfectly fine to go ahead with the PPG signals, which then are also pretty reliable.
Yeah, it's really super interesting what's going to be out of these data we are gathering. So, Uli, from the top of your head, besides what we just discussed, is there anything else from the past 1.5 days you would like to mention or you want to stress?
We are here actually for the patients, because I personally believe that if we can reach the goals of AFB-STEP, we will be able to characterize this disease in a better way, and then we can better shape therapies that better match the specific situation of an individual patient. And I believe that this huge effort of all the people who are together here will in the end lead to more timely and also better individualized therapy of and also prevention of atrial fibrillation. That's what I hope.
Thank you so much for the time you were taking to answer our questions and for giving this very informative interview. Thank you, Uli.
Thanks for having me. Thank you very much.
Thanks.